In this module, we're going to talk about the PRISM safety locker. The safety locker is kind of important because that is the location of the documents that you read and initial. That then goes into your training folder, and for Argus and for the FAA, that's where we show that you've received the appropriate training, and ironically, that's where this movie is going to wind up. So as you can see, I've got myself logged in as David Musin, and I've got this account set up as a standard pilot account. To get into the safety locker, you would go to the Armor icon right there. And if I haven't said it before, I'll say now. People go a long way to come up with a cool acronym. And this one stands for Aviation Risk Management Online Resource. So that's where Armor comes from. When we click on the Armor, we go down here, the very first thing is Safety Locker. And we'll do this a little bit out of order. The first thing we're going to talk about is read and initial. Once you've read this or heard this part of it, you may not need to go any farther. But you come up with the quick links here, and on the quick links you've got several sections. One of them is favorites, the other one is active notifications. We'll talk about the view, read, and initial. For this pilot that I've set up for David Musin as a pilot, I would come into the safety locker and I would click on read and initial. And as you can see, it's set up here with three areas. One of them is a filter that you're probably not going to be too concerned about. The next one is going to be documents that you've read, and then the bottom one will be documents that you haven't read but should read. So towards that end, you would click on a document that you're supposed to read. Now this one happens to be the GOM. The GOM is over 400 pages. So it's going to take a few minutes to download. And once it's downloaded, it's going to be a bigger document than even I thought. There it is. That's the General Operations Manual. And as I said, it's a really big document. So here you're going, you go through and you read it. Now you want to close it. When you click close, you're going to get the very first time you open a document and close it, you're going to get this. It says, I verify that I will or I have read the contents of the subject document on this date. So essentially what you have to do is open it and close it. And when you close it, if you haven't read it, you're just verifying that you will read it. Once you click agree, the next time you open that document, you're not going to get this because you've already agreed that you're going to read the document. And as you can see, that document has gone from unread documents to the read documents. I get a notice that you've read it or promised to read it. There's no distinction between the two, and I put that in your training folders. So having done all that, we're going to return to the safety locker and talk a little bit more about it. The safety locker is actually down here, and you all have access to the public documents. The public documents include things like the Employee Ops Manual Review. This is a document that Gene made up about changes to the Ops Manual. There's a Pilot Safety Read file. This is where the pilots will find their read and initial documents if they want to come back to them again. There's a mechanic safety read file, cabin attendants. If we wind up with one for schedulers, we'll do that also. But if you take a look, here's the GOM that I just looked at, and you can get to that anytime. It's always updated. The maintenance manual is here. There's some miscellaneous documents from Gene, but a lot of us need to see the op specs. That changes regularly. This will always have the most recent op specs. The winter's ops manual, and then of course what I'm working on now are these training videos, and you'll be able to click on those and review any training video that you want to see. Now let's say you see something that you want to see with some type of regularity. Let's say the safety policy statement is something that you're constantly looking up. Well, you would just click on that and open it. I'm not going to wait for it to open. There it is. That's our safety policy. I just looked at it and I said, wow, that's pretty good. I'm going to want to see that more often than what I'm seeing it. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to click on that safety policy statement, and this little blue thing means that I've made it into a favorite. You can see it was successfully added to the favorites list. You go up here. Every time you go into the safety locker, that safety document is going to be right there so you can always find it. If you decide it's not your favorite anymore, you want to get rid of it, you hit the delete button, the trash can button, it gets rid of it, but you notice it doesn't get rid of it out of the locker. It's right there. Active notifications. When we do a checklist, a safety assurance checklist, and assign a finding to someone, that finding will wind up in here. If you've got things that you have to do other than read an initial, it will always be right in here. If it's red, it means it's overdue. If it's blue, you just have to do it. And it's all pretty self-explanatory, and we'll talk about it more when we talk about checklists. That pretty much does it. Don't forget to log out. That covers the safety locker.